At the outset, I would like to offer my humble pranams at the lotus feet of our most beloved Bhagavan. Sai Ram and greetings from Prashanthi Nilayam. Last time I came up to the point where Kumbhakarna, after being awakened from his deep sleep, goes to meet Ravana, following which he heads for the theatre of war. In today's talk, I shall continue from that point. As he stepped into the battlefield, the very sight of Kumbhakarna was enough to scatter the Vanaras hither and thither. And it took a spirited pep talk from Angada to put Sugriva's army back in a combative mood. Spirits fully restored, the Vanaras now mounted a huge and collective onslaught on the mighty and fearsome Kumbhakarna. And when Hanuman joined the battle, it became even more fierce and gory. It was truly a battle of one against many. Yet, such was the power and might of Kumbhakarna that he was able to inflict serious casualties on his adversaries. For a brief period, Kumbhakarna managed to hold Sugriva captive, but the latter escaped. It was Lakshmana's turn to enter the fray next, soon after which Rama himself took on the mighty Kumbhakarna. A fierce battle ensued, and in the end, Kumbhakarna fell. With that, a very critical aspect of the divine assurance given a long time ago by Lord Vishnu to the Devas had been fulfilled. Of course, the ultimate enemy, namely Ravana, still remained. However, his extermination was now merely a question of when. The death of Kumbhakarna was too terrible a blow for Ravana to bear. It was simply impossible for him to believe that such a one who struck fear even amongst the gods would lie in the dust. Drowned in grief, he cried bitterly over the death of his brother who was dear to him. And in the midst of his sorrow, it dawned on him that amongst all his relatives, friends and ministers, it was Vibhishana and Kumbhakarna alone who gave him sane advice, even as all the rest deluded him with sycophancy and cheap flattery. But alas, it was too late to cry over all that now. Ravana painfully realized that the tide of fortune had definitely turned against him. Attempting to do his best, Ravana then pressed the surviving members of his family one by one into the battle. But all that was of little avail, since every one of them eventually fell, though after giving a tough fight. One day, when Ravana heard that his son Atikaya had also succumbed, he really became worried. Slowly it began to dawn on Ravana that Rama was none other than Lord Narayana himself, come in human form, for the specific purpose of annihilating him. In a last and desperate attempt, he tried to bolster up the city's defense and gave a series of instructions towards that end. It was then that Indrajit, the valorous and much feared son of Ravana, decided to enter the battlefield once more. Bragging that by sundown he would get rid of Rama and Lakshmana once and for all, he set forth haughtily in his chariot, offering en route encouragement to the dispirited Rakshasa warriors. Endowed as he was with amazing martial skills, valor and might, and possessing as he did innumerable astras of immense power, in no time at all Indrajit was tearing the Vanara forces apart. Such was the ferocity with which he attacked, that soon he was able to rain arrows on even Rama and Lakshmana, causing them some difficulty. Rama then said to Lakshmana, "My dear brother, using the power of the astras given to him as a boon by Brahma. This son of Ravana is presently tormenting us. But soon his fortune would change. Be assured that by sunset he would be dead and gone. Right now, both of us have to submit to the astras empowered by Brahma, with which he is going to attack us. Later, however, the tide would turn in our favor, following which Indrajit would be gone. Soon, Indrajit gained, exactly as Rama had foretold, temporary advantage by subduing both Rama and Lakshmana through the use of powerful astras, little knowing that this gain would be short-lived. Deluded by the belief that he had gained the upper hand, Indrajit hastened to convey the good news to his father. Meanwhile, seeing both the brothers knocked down unconscious, there was gloom everywhere in Rama's camp. Consoling Sugriva, Vibhishana pointed out that Indrajit had by no means triumphed. Rather, that out of respect for Brahma, Rama and Lakshmana had temporarily allowed themselves to be subdued and put out of action. Morale slightly enhanced, Vibhishana and Hanuman then went around checking who all in Rama's army was still alive. While so doing, they met Jambavan, who, feeling reassured that Hanuman had not become a casualty, said, "Hanuman, there is still hope for us. This is the moment when you have to show your prowess in all its glory. Jump across the ocean and land and speed hastily to the Himalayas. There you would see a mountain peak located between Mount Rishabha and Mount Kailasa. The peak of this mountain is packed with 4 types of amazing herbs, using which the dead can be revived, weapons that have pierced the body can be pulled out, wounds healed without any scars, and fractured limbs completely restored. Collect all these 4 types of herbs and rush back immediately." Hanuman immediately left the spot and came to the shore of the ocean. Gazing for a moment at the vast sea before him and bowing to the sea god, Hanuman, the son of Vayu, became airborne with a mighty leap, after which, travelling faster than wind, he quickly reached the Himalayas. Arriving at the destination, Hanuman searched earnestly for the herbs described by Jambavan. Meanwhile, mistaking Hanuman to be a prowler wanting to steal medicinal treasures, the lord of that mountain caused all the priceless herbs to become invisible, making Hanuman's task almost impossible. Becoming enraged, Hanuman roared with fury, "O foolish one who lords over this mountain! You have no idea of the great harm you are doing. I am here looking for herbs that would save Lord Rama, but you in your meanness are placing obstacles. This is nothing short of refusing to show compassion to Rama the Great, and for this despicable act, I am this very minute going to pulverize you." In the twinkling of an eye, Hanuman tore off the entire top portion along with the wonderful herbs it contained. Such was the force with which Maruti tore the mountain top, that what was left of the mountain began to burn due to heat generated by friction. Looking behind with satisfaction and carrying with him the mountain top that contained all the precious herbs, Hanuman was back in Lanka with a mighty leap, even as the Vanaras lustily cheered him as he prepared to descend. The moment Rama and Lakshmana inhaled the unique fragrance of the powerful herbs, they were back to their normal self. Indeed, the entire Vanara army recovered fully from all the casualties it had suffered thus far. So miraculous was the power of those herbs that even the Vanaras that had been killed rose up alive. Meanwhile, greatly cheered by Rama's recovery, Hanuman decided to restore the broken peak back to the mountain from which he had earlier torn it off. So, one more trip to the Himalayas, this time full of joy instead of anxiety. The torn off mountain top duly replaced, Hanuman was quickly back by Rama's side in his service. Altogether, plenty of long distance flying and several times too, all within a few hours, and as a part of his deep devotion for Rama. With Rama and Lakshmana fighting fit once more, it was time to resume the attack on the Rakshasas with increased vigor. On a command from Sugriva, the Vanaras now speedily entered the city of Lanka and set as much of it as possible on fire. In less than an hour, everything was more or less razed to the ground. A sad fate for a once proud and famed city. Ravana, who for a while was taking comfort from the news that Indrajit brought, was now stunned by the sudden reversal of fortune. He then commanded the surviving warriors to check the enemy's onslaught. But one by one, they all fell, including Kumbha and Nikumba, the two sons of Kumbhakarna. Next, like his father had been much earlier, Makaraksha, the son of Khara, was also slain by Rama himself. Highly frustrated about the way things were turning out, Ravana, now totally panic-stricken, commanded Indrajit to enter the fray once more, and either by straight fight or by magic, overcome Rama and Lakshmana once and for all. Bowing to the command of his father, Indrajit prepared himself with appropriate rituals and by offering oblations to sacred fire. After which, he set forth in his aerial car to reach the battlefield. Remaining airborne and managing to remain unseen, Indrajit fought cleverly and skillfully, employing many a conjuring trick. Totally frustrated by the unseen Indrajit, Lakshmana became furious and said to Rama, "Dear brother, enough is enough. Please allow me to use the Astra of Brahma and wipe out in a flash the entire army of Ravana. With no army to back him up, the enemy would be highly vulnerable, and in no time at all victory would be ours." Responding to the request, Rama said, "Lakshmana, it is not correct or fair to wipe out an entire army when you are engaged in a one-to-one combat with a single adversary. Do not lose your cool. We have plenty of mystical weapons at our disposal, using which this Indrajit too shall be soon annihilated." Using the magical powers he possessed, Indrajit quickly became aware of what transpired between Rama and Lakshmana. Promptly withdrawing, he entered the city. Employing conjuring tricks, he then quickly created an illusory Sita looking exactly like the real one. Placing this living image in his chariot and taking a huge battalion with him, Indrajit entered the battlefield once more, his idea being to announce that he would be killing Sita in public. His belief was that when the Vanaras saw the fake killing, they would, becoming totally dispirited, take to their heels, leaving Rama and Lakshmana not only alone, but also in despair. That would be the moment to kill them both and achieve total victory. So thought the mighty son of Ravana. When the Vanaras saw Indrajit bringing Sita in his chariot, they were stunned. And when the Rakshasas surrounding Indrajit's chariot began thrashing the illusory Sita, the Vanaras were utterly shocked. Finally, when Indrajit drew his sword and struck the illusory Sita, sending her body crashing to the ground, the entire army of Rama felt totally devastated. Hanuman, who had silently watched all this in horror without realizing it was a trick, conveyed the dreadful news to Rama, who immediately swooned and fell to the ground. Lakshmana, who was by Rama's side while Hanuman was narrating in detail the gory details of how Indrajit killed Sita, was already in a state of shock. And when he saw Rama fall to the ground, it was just too much. Water was sprinkled on Rama to revive him, while Lakshmana gently picked up his brother's body and held it close to him. Deeply distraught and depressed, Lakshmana felt utterly helpless, a feeling he had never before experienced. Absolutely frustrated and choked with emotion, he looked into Rama's eyes. even as the latter was slowly recovering his consciousness. Lakshmana could scarcely believe that such a one as Rama could actually be felled in battlefield. Body trembling and in a voice filled with anguish and anger, he lamented, "O worthy brother, you steadfastly followed the path of virtue, and see where it has landed you now. They say that virtue alone prospers and brings happiness. Looking at your present situation, I am unable to accept that claim. It seems that neither does virtue confer rewards, nor does unrighteousness punish a person. On the contrary, people both good and bad appear to experience pleasure and pain in alternation. What really seems to matter is strength. According to me, virtue alone is not enough, and it needs the support of might. Virtue destroys enemies only when united with strength. When you spurned the kingdom that was rightfully yours, permitting it to be gifted away right under your nose, you allowed the strength of a kingdom to slip away from you. And what happened as a result? Your wife got abducted, and now she has been killed brutally in public." That was how Lakshmana lamented, and this scene illustrates how despair and extreme depression can blind even the most intelligent. Thus it was that for a brief moment, Lakshmana was deluded by wrong logic and the false belief that dharma by itself was powerless unless it was backed by physical might. Continuing in this vein, Lakshmana added, "O valiant brother, I simply cannot fathom your actions nor comprehend why you made the sacrifices you did. But this I do swear, I shall make Indrajit pay in full for all this. Therefore, arise, O great scion of Raghu." Having made a grim resolution, Lakshmana was able to gain some clarity, as is evident from the next few words he spoke, which were in sharp contrast to the confused discourse delivered earlier. With deep humility and much serenity, Lakshmana now said, "Rama, have you forgotten that you are the very embodiment of the Supreme Spirit? Are you not beyond all pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow? Are you not here acting a divine drama? And have I not come with you to play my own role in the manner destined? As a part of the role I have to play, I announce here and now that Janaki's death shall be avenged in full measure, and Lanka wiped out without a trace. Of this be assured, my beloved Lord." Meanwhile, Vibhishna, who had been moving around giving pep talks and trying to raise the morale of the Vanara army, returned to where Rama was and learned from Lakshmana all that had transpired. Reacting to the news brought by Hanuman that Sita had been killed by Indrajit, Vibhishna forthwith dismissed it as nothing more than a mere conjuring trick. Indrajit was well known for his skills in such matters and used them at every opportunity to confound his adversaries. Hearing this, both Rama and Lakshmana felt greatly reassured. Subsequently, as advised by Vibhishna, Lakshmana, after taking Rama's blessing and accompanied by Vibhishna, Hanuman and a huge battalion, went to a place called Nikumbila, where Indrajit was believed to be busy performing some rituals. Upon reaching their destination, they found Indrajit mounting his chariot. Vibhishna, who could easily read Rakshasa minds and intentions, said to Lakshmana, "This evil one is now all set to attack Hanuman and kill him. Now is the time for you to wipe out this dreaded son of Ravana." A confrontation between Lakshmana and Indrajit then ensued, which first began with an exchange of hot words and taunts. Intervening briefly during the verbal exchange, Vibhishna bluntly warned Indrajit that his time had come and that he would not return alive from the battlefield that evening. In the fierce battle that followed, both Lakshmana and Indrajit matched each other in the use of weapons and the adoption of masterly tactics. Finally, using an astra endowed with the full power of Indra, the god of heaven, Lakshmana killed Indrajit. Seeing their hitherto undefeated prince lie lifeless on ground, Ravana's army became utterly demoralized. Abandoning whatever weapons they had, they fled from the battlefield. In sharp contrast, in Rama's camp, there was unbounded joy and much celebration, especially since Ravana was now practically all alone. As Lakshmana, Vibhishana, Hanuman, Jambavan and all the rest of them reported the exciting news, Rama too was filled with great joy. Thrilled that a major turning point had been crossed, Rama showered praise on his younger brother, warmly congratulating him for having struck down such a reputed and valorous warrior as Indrajit. The scene in Ravana's palace was, on the other hand, strikingly different, with Ravana feeling as if he had been struck by a thunderbolt. How could this invincible son of mine have ever been killed? The Rakshasa king wailed and lamented. Violent anger soon replaced grief, and Ravana's very appearance became fearsome. Livid with rage, body trembling, and eyes flaming with fury, Ravana swore to his ministers that he would avenge Indrajit's death by actually killing Sita. That's all I have for you today, and I hope you feel inspired and elevated by the narration I have just given. It's all the Lord's drama with ups and downs. Sometimes there are ups, sometimes there are downs, but in the end, Dharma always triumphs. Of that be sure. Do join us again next week at the same time for a continuation of the narration. I now take your leave after offering this talk to Swami as a humble token of my love and reverence. Jai Sai Ram.